Hey everyone, Daniel here, and DC Rebirth is happening. Since my last DC Rebirth video was such a success, I thought it would be fun to go through all of the DC Rebirth specials, talk about them, give you my recaps, and tell you which ones I think you should check out. So this week we got 4 Rebirth specials: Batman, Superman, Green Arrow, and Green Lanterns. I'm going to talk about all 4 today, and let's get started with the Dark Knight detective himself, Batman. Batman Rebirth is a solid, one-shot, standalone Batman story that's kind of a lead-in to a lot of the Batman books that are happening with Rebirth, and also kind of a lead-out from the New 52, which I think is what these Rebirth specials really should be. They should be both a lead-out and a lead-in, and we'll see some variations of that with the next couple books. But this was a great issue. I highly recommend it if you're a Batman fan. They do touch on some of the New 52 continuity, such as Duke Thomas from We Are Robin. He's now in here. He gets a brand new identity. We don't know what that identity is yet, but it's this nifty little yellow-suited bat thing. So I don't know what they're gonna call him. I'll be honest, I didn't read We Are Robin. I kind of picked up the first couple issues, but it was like, well, nothing really super great here, so I didn't actually read We Are Robin, so I don't know all of what happened in it. I heard from some people it was good, from some people it was bad, so yeah, but I did like the idea, and I'm glad to see that some of the characters are still going to be continuing on. I also found the new take on Calendar Man to be pretty interesting, in the fact that he actually has powers and he, grows and dies and rejuvenates with the seasons. It's one of those things where Snyder really likes, like during Zero Year, he showed that he really likes having a grounded Batman take on more fantastic villains, and I actually think this is an interesting new take on Calendar Man. I mean, Calendar Man was never really a big high-profile villain. He was basically just a guy who did calendar-based crimes. So actually giving him some kind of gimmick, while I don't think it was necessary, I do think is pretty interesting. So we'll see how that goes and how this will play into future Bat books. The art by Mikel Janin and June Chung is also great, and yeah, I apologize, I probably mispronounced Mikel's last name, but It is great art. It's colorful, but it has this desaturation to it that I think really works for a Batman book. And that was really good. But overall, I thought this was a great issue. Definitely making me interested in reading the Bat books. I really liked Scott Snyder's run on Batman, and I know Tom King is a great writer. He's been doing Vision over at Marvel, which is a great book. Even though I haven't read it, I'm waiting for the trade. But it's definitely one of those things where I'm excited for the Bat books, and I'm not even a Batman fan, so I highly recommend everyone pick up Batman Rebirth if you like Batman. I mean, if not, just whatever. Now this next book, this looks like a job for Superman. Superman Rebirth. Superman Rebirth basically serves as an epilogue to the Final Days of Superman storyline that was going on in the Superman books, which sees the New 52 Superman die and be replaced by his pre-Flashpoint counterpart from the Superman Lois and Clark book. Now, having said that, you may worry that this is super tied in with continuity. And while it does address all of the stuff from that book, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's chock full of continuity. You basically just need to understand, and you do if you picked up the Rebirth special, that Superman is dead, and that there's a pre-Flashpoint Superman who exists. It's a nice small story about pre-Flashpoint Superman meeting New 52 Lana Lang, and they're talking, and Superman knows that this isn't his Lana Lang and it isn't his Superman and all that, but he does understand that he is Superman. He is a Superman, and this is a Lana Lang, and they had a connection, and this Lana Lang had a connection to Clark Kent the same way he did, and it's a nice, like, intimate story between the two. It also retells, kind of briefly, the Death of Superman story from back in the 90s, but it's one of those things where I would really say you want to pick this up if you're a Superman fan, or if you want to get into, but I don't feel like it's entirely necessary. It's a book that I definitely recommend if you are a Superman fan, but it's not exactly something you need to know what's going to happen in the future Rebirth stuff. At least, not in my opinion. I will say this, if you do want just some extra background on how the old Superman, or the New 52 Superman died, and the older Superman is taking over, then I'd recommend picking it up. But don't feel like it's necessary to read the Superman stuff. Next up, Green Arrow. I'll be honest, this was probably my favorite book. Love it, love it, love it. This book was great. Exactly what I want from a Green Arrow book. It was like watching an episode of Justice League Unlimited with Green Arrow and Black Canary teaming up. And in fact, my one problem with the book is the fact that it's not called Green Arrow Black Canary Rebirth, because it is a Green Arrow and Black Canary comic, and it gets them both perfectly great. Now, I'll be honest, I did not read the DCU Black Canary book. It just, to me, felt kind of forced to make Black Canary, Dinah Lance, a rock star when she's never, ever been a rock star before, and it seems like kind of a generic thing to do with a character that has vocal powers to make that a musician, but hey, from what I heard, it was half decent, so. But this book gets Green Arrow and Black Canary back to a point that I love them. Green Arrow is especially at his best when he's tackling social issues. In fact, he even calls himself an SJW. Green Arrow is an SJW. Fuck you, Gamergate. I love that. Green Arrow is a social justice warrior because that's what he is. Green Arrow is at his best when he's taking on politics and social issues, and it's... I don't want to really even talk that much about the plot, just because it is so... It's a book I really want people to go out and pick up, and it's so good. And, of course, we get the first, blossoming of the romance between Green Arrow and Black Canary, which is practically a necessary thing for both of their characters at this point. They're so intertwined that you can't not do a relationship between Green Arrow and Black Canary. I mean, heck, we all know how that turned out on certain television programs. Don't even get me started on that. And Otto Schmidt's art is just fantastic. It's cartoony, but still realistic. It's bright and colorful, but still subdued. It's exactly what I want out of a Green Arrow book. Heck, even the lettering fits the tone of this book, and it's just awesome. So, go out and get Green Arrow Rebirth. You will not be disappointed. And lastly, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware the power of Green Lantern's light. I like this comic. It's good. This is the officially last thing that Geoff Johns will be writing for the foreseeable future, and of course it's a send-off to the book that made his career, Green Lantern. Why do you have to go, Jeff? It's kind of pretty much all set up for the Green Lantern books, but I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. It focuses on Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, who are the new rookie Green Lanterns, and I think that that's one of the big things that's going to be helpful to Green Lanterns, once the book actually comes out, is the fact that it's focusing on the rookies, and that allows us to really get in and go with the characters and follow them and see their journey and how they go. It's one of those things, Simon really has not gotten a whole lot to do since his introduction story, and Jessica just became a Green Lantern. She's been a supporting player in Justice League, so I'm glad to see her finally coming into her own as a Green Lantern, and I'm looking forward to seeing the buddy cop dynamic of Simon and Jessica, and how they're both rookies, but Simon has a bit more experience, and what that kind of goes into. I also find Jessica Cruz to just be a fascinating character because of her... I think she's the first superhero with agoraphobia, and I think that's actually incredibly interesting, the fact that she's such a frightened character, and who went through this traumatic event, and, you know, came out of it, and has found strength, but she doesn't feel like she's found strength, and she's still dealing with the trauma, and yet she's given the power of willpower and courage, and I think that's a really interesting thing to do. They're also playing up the fact that Earth now has 6 Green Lanterns: Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz, and Jessica, although if you count Alan Scott, it's 7, and I hope that actually does come into play soon with Green Lanterns. And of course, if you're a fan of the animated show, Green Lanterns features the Red Lanterns as villains, which, you know, they were the first villains of the animated show, so that should be something to look forward to. They also set up the fact that these two are going to be the Green Lanterns on the Justice League, and the fact that Hal is going off to the other side of the universe to fight with the other Green Lanterns and the Corps, and so he's still around, he's just going to be off doing his own thing, and these guys are going to be on Earth. But overall, I think this is a really good setup issue, and I'm glad that Jeff Johns came back to write it along with Sam Humphries, and the fact that Ethan Van Sciver provided the art, which is great because Ethan Van Sciver and Jeff Johns have pretty much been linked to Green Lantern since they came back with Green Lantern Rebirth. I'm definitely looking forward to Green Lanterns, and if you are someone who hasn't yet checked out Green Lantern, I think this is probably a good place to start. Or if you are a huge Green Lantern fan, then this is not going to disappoint for you either. So I recommend Green Lanterns Rebirth. Anyways, that'll do it for this week. Let me know if what you got and what your thoughts on this week's DC Rebirth are. And be sure to join me next week for the next week of DC Rebirth recaps. Till then, I'll see you later.